May 13th, 1944. At Fleet Radio Unit Pacific, Pearl Harbor, codebreakers' pencils moved rapidly as Japanese intercepted characters were translated into English. A message from submarine I-16 indicated a scheduled rice delivery to Bin, southern Buganville, with departure imminent. Lieutenant Commander Robert Williamson put down his coffee and reached for a secure phone. 3 destroyer escorts prepared to intercept: USS England, USS George, and USS Rabby. Little did they know, this decoded message would ignite the most devastating anti-submarine chase in naval history. During the Pacific War, Americans learned Japanese submarines were not mere weapons but vital supply lifelines. Cutting them would starve Japanese garrisons. The Imperial Japanese Navy's 7th Submarine Squadron set a patrol line from Truk Island to the Admiralty Islands, with 7 submarines: I-16, RO-104, RO-105, RO-106, RO-108, RO-116, and RO-117. Admiral Somu Toyoda positioned these subs underwater to detect any American fleet movement toward the Palau or Marianas Islands. The USS England, a Buckley-class escort, sailed through Pacific waves at 23 knots, displacing 1,400 tons. Lieutenant Commander Walton Pendleton stood on deck reviewing the tactical plot. His ship carried 186 men, armed specifically for anti-submarine warfare, including 2 depth charge racks, 8K guns capable of launching 300-pound charges 150 yards, and notably, a 24-barrel Hedgehog anti-submarine mortar mounted forward, a weapon destined for naval history. The Hedgehog was British engineering at its deadliest. Unlike depth charges detonating at preset depths, its projectiles exploded only on direct contact. Each of the 24 barrels fired a 65-pound projectile containing 35 pounds of Torpex explosive. The stats were harsh. Traditional depth charges achieved kills once every 80 attacks, but the Hedgehog succeeded once every 5. Executive Officer John Williamson, a Cambridge-educated expert in trigonometry and physics, memorized these statistics. He saw submarine warfare through the lens of geometry, calculating sound waves traveling at 4,800 feet per second, target depth, attack angles, since success boiled down to fractions of degrees and split-second timing. On board the Japanese submarine I-16, Lieutenant Commander Tuchi Yoshitaka checked his cargo manifest. Rubber bags weighing 75 pounds, each filled with rice. 9 prior patrols had taught him supply runs were among the Imperial Navy's riskiest missions. Surface ships drew aircraft, while submarines attracted destroyer escorts armed with advanced detection gear. I-16 displaced 2,180 tons submerged, powered by diesel engines on the surface and electric motors underwater. Her 94-man crew had endured attacks by American destroyers, aircraft depth charges, and close calls with Allied submarines. Yet the sub's greatest vulnerability persisted: the need to surface for battery, recharging, and air replacement. The American ships formed a line in a breast search formation as they neared the intercept zone. USS George to port, USS Rabby starboard, USS England centered. Each destroyer scanned the sea with SG surface search radar and QC sonar. Sonar operators worked in 15-minute shifts, keen to distinguish whale songs, thermal layers, schools of fish, and a unique metallic echo of subs. Sonar man First Class David Chun, with 18 months of Pacific tracking experience, rotated the sonar head automatically, stopping every few degrees, sending out pings, and listening for echoes. Calm water, optimal sound transmission, minimal temperature layers, no acoustic barriers. At 13:35 on May 19th, Chun's earpiece cracked with a definitive submarine echo, range 2,000 yards, bearing 090 degrees relative. Pressing the alarm, he grabbed the sound-powered telephone. Bridge, sonar positive, bearing 090, range 2,000. He reported to I-16's bridge. The sub's hydrophone operator heard the distinct ping of American sonar. Lieutenant Commander Yoshitaka commanded an immediate dive. Emergency ballast vents exploded open as compressed air rushed out. The sub's bow angled downward, flooding ballast tanks with seawater. Dive to periscope depth took 45 seconds. Descent to 100 feet 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Executive Officer Williamson plotted the attack geometry on the bridge chart. Target speed was estimated at 8 knots. Course roughly southwest toward Buganville. Depth unknown, but likely between 100 and 200 feet during evasive moves. The Hedgehog's effective range was 270 yards, but precision hinged on accurate depth calculations and course prediction. The England's first attack was at 13:41. 24 Hedgehog projectiles arced through the air in a precisely calculated pattern to cover a 40-yard area. They struck the water and sank at 8 feet per second. But there were no explosions, a clean miss. Williamson revised his math. The sub had likely gone deeper than anticipated, using a 150-foot thermal layer to cloak its acoustic signature. He ordered a course correction and readied a second attack, setting 3 projectiles for deeper penetration. At 13:58, the second Hedgehog salvo scored 1 hit. A muffled explosion echoed underwater, felt through the England's hull as much as heard. The sub was damaged but not destroyed. Williamson detected machinery grinding through sonar. I-16 remained maneuverable. The third attack at 14:10 was miscalculated. Williamson estimated 200 feet depth, but fathometer readings showed 325 feet. The projectiles passed over harmlessly. The submarine's commander wielded every tactical advantage, proving more skilled than anticipated. The fourth attack failed due to a sudden, radical course change. Hydrophone operators on I-16 had mastered American attack timing, counting seconds between sonar pings to predict when weapons would be launched. Emergency rudder hard to port, blowing negative ballast, adjusting depth by 50 feet. Standard evasion tactics that had kept Japanese subs alive throughout the Pacific War. At 14:33, Williamson made his final calculation, bearing 170 degrees, range 400 yards, depth 250 feet. Using sonar propagation delay, the England's fifth Hedgehog attack sent 4 to 6 projectiles into I-16's pressure hull. The explosion lifted England's fantail clear of the water. Men were knocked off their feet as the shockwave traveled through both vessels. In I-16's forward torpedo room, seawater erupted through ruptured hull plates. Emergency lighting failed, and the bow angled toward the ocean floor 3 miles below. 20 minutes later, debris surfaced. Life preservers with Japanese markings, wooden planks, oil slicks spreading across the Central Pacific. I-16 and her 94-man crew joined a growing list of Japanese submarines never to return. Meanwhile, Fleet Radio Unit Pacific intercepted additional Japanese messages. On May 20th, codebreakers decoded a second transmission revealing the 7th Submarine Squadron's patrol line location. 7 submarines arrayed along a route Admiral William Halley had previously used twice to move the 3rd Fleet. RO-104, RO-105, RO-106, RO-108, RO-109, RO-112, and RO-116. Admiral Toyoda's tactic was tactically sound. Position subs at choke points where American carrier forces were most vulnerable, forcing the enemy to endure submarine attacks or detour, adding days to their transit. The plan presumed American anti-submarine forces might detect individual subs, but could not locate and destroy an entire squadron before it moved. Commander Hamilton Haynes, leading Escort Division 39, ordered a west-to-east sweep of the patrol line. 3 destroyer escorts against 7 enemy submarines. Math favored the Japanese, but it did not count on U.S. technology and the remarkable accuracy of the USS England's Hedgehog system. At 3:50 on May 22nd, USS George detected RO-106 on radar 8 miles away, a surface submarine charging batteries, a necessary but risky practice exposing vulnerability. Searchlights confirmed the target as the George's 5-inch guns swung toward it. RO-106 crash-dived in 38 seconds, but damage was done. The Americans knew the sub's location and course. George attacked with Hedgehogs at 4:15, but missed due to the sub's evasive maneuvers at 200 feet depth. Japanese hydrophone operators detected incoming projectiles and initiated emergency moves. At 4:25, USS England regained sonar contact. Williamson refined his attack based on I-16's fight, calculating depth from sonar propagation, factoring evasion speed and turning radius, predicting target location 60 seconds after contact. The first Hedgehog attack missed, but a second attack at 5:01 hit at least 3 times. Underwater explosions erupted visible as massive water and debris columns. RO-106 pressure hull was breached in multiple spots. Emergency ballast tanks failed. The submarine sank stern first with all 59 crew lost. 2 submarines destroyed in 4 days. Japanese naval intelligence intercepted radio traffic, realizing American anti-submarine forces were systematically hunting the 7th Squadron using new tactics and weapons. Emergency orders instructed the remaining subs to maintain silence and avoid surface runs, except in extreme cases. But the Americans held momentum, aided by technology the Japanese couldn't match. Radar detecting subs over 10 miles away, sonar with a resolution to track through thermal layers, and the Hedgehog weapon eliminating traditional depth charge weaknesses. Depth charges required ships to pass over subs before dropping charges, causing a vulnerability where sonar contact was lost and the enemy could evade. Explosions also churned the water, masking sonar for up to 15 minutes. The Hedgehog fired ahead of the ship, keeping sonar continuous with no acoustic interference, allowing immediate follow-up attacks. Its contact fusing ensured only direct hits exploded, eliminating false assessments. RO-104 was the 3rd submarine confronted by the American hunter-killer group. At 6 o'clock on May 23rd, USS Rabby detected it on radar while surfacing 250 nautical miles north-northwest of New Ireland. The sub submerged within 45 seconds, but that delay allowed American fire control to compute an accurate firing solution for its course, speed, and dive point. Rabby launched 4 Hedgehog attacks between 6:17 and 7:15, all misses as RO-104's commander deployed desperate evasion tactics. Jamming sonar with tuned sound bursts, emergency course changes, depth variation between 50 and 300 feet, and compressed air releases to create false acoustic targets. Every trick garnered from 3 years of Pacific combat. At 7:17, USS George joined, firing 5 consecutive Hedgehog attacks, all unsuccessful. The sub's commander skillfully used ocean currents and temperature gradients to mask position, employing emergency rudder moves, silent running, and ballast changes without acoustic detection. By 8:19, Williamson began his final attack calculation. RO-104 had evaded for over 2 hours, exhausting battery, and compressed air at unsustainable rates. The sub had to reduce evasion to conserve power for vital systems. Williamson plotted the most probable position for the attack and ordered the England to strike. At 8:34, 24 Hedgehog projectiles bracketed the area, hitting RO-104's pressure hull 10 to 12 times. Emergency ballast tanks activated as seawater flooded engine and battery compartments. 3 minutes later, a massive explosion as compressed air cylinders ruptured. Debris and oil surfaced at 10:45. All 58 crew lost. 3 submarines destroyed in 5 days. Traditional statistics showed a kill rate of roughly 3% for depth charges early in 1942, improving to 30% by war's end. The Hedgehog's 20% success rate was a 6-fold leap in lethality. But beyond numbers, the psychological blow to Japanese crews was profound. Radio intercepts revealed commanders requesting patrol withdrawals, fearing American superweapons with near-impossible accuracy. RO-116, on a routine patrol, was detected by USS George at 1:20 on May 24th, 8 miles away, moving at 12 knots toward the patrol line's eastern end. Its commander chose speed over stealth, a fatal calculation. USS England picked up sonar contact at 1:50 during the sub's emergency 35-second crash dive. American attack calculations were underway. At 2:14, the first Hedgehog attack scored 3 to 5 direct hits. Unlike earlier incidents, no massive secondary explosion occurred. Damage control in newer subs delayed catastrophic failure, but internal flooding could not be contained with multiple hull breaches. Breaking noises echoed underwater as bulkheads collapsed under pressure. Emergency ballast venting and flooding damaged propeller shaft bearings. The submarine's death rattles were audible through sonar for 20 minutes before RO-116 sank, with all 56 crew. This 6-submarine destruction in under a week drew senior Pacific Theater commanders' attention. Admiral Chester Nimitz requested detailed tactical reports. Admiral Ernest King planned upgrades to more destroyers. But the hunt continued. 3 submarines remained, and Japanese naval intelligence grasped the scale of their losses. Orders went out to abandon individual posts and form defensive clusters for mutual protection. On May 26th, a hunter-killer group with USS Hoggett Bay and 4 Fletcher-class destroyers arrived to relieve England, George, and Rabby after 8 days of continuous action. While routine procedure favored returning to port for rest and resupply, Commander Haynes requested one last patrol sweep en route to Mayusport. Intelligence suggested RO-108 was nearby, possibly meeting other survivors for coordinated withdrawal. At 23:04 on May 26th, USS England detected RO-108 at 1,500 yards submerged at shallow depth, moving southeast at 8 knots to maximize speed and conserve battery. Williamson's attack plan, completed within 3 minutes of contact, estimated 120 feet depth based on sonar characteristics. The target's course was stable, indicating either ignorance of American presence or a flight rather than tactical evasion. At 23:23, England's Hedgehog attack hit multiple projectiles, triggering a massive underwater blast that lit the surface with glowing bubbles and debris. Submarine battery emergency lights pulsed unervingly underwater before failing. 5 submarines destroyed in 8 days. The last target was RO-105, commanded by Lieutenant Junichi Inouye, carrying Captain Ryan Suko, commander of Submarine Division 51. Built at Sasebo Naval Arsenal and commissioned in November 1943, RO-105 had survived numerous previous engagements and conducted successful rescue missions around the Solomons in New Guinea. Its experienced crew and skilled commander made it the toughest sub remaining in the squadron. Japanese Sixth Fleet intercepted American radio transmissions revealing USS England's location, prompting orders for RO-105 to avoid contact and withdraw for resupply. Limited fuel and battery made immediate withdrawal impossible without risky surface running through patrol zones. The final engagement began May 29th at 21:30 when USS George detected RO-105 surfaced. The sub crash dived, but its position and heading were known to U.S. fire controls. What followed was a grueling 25-hour attrition battle, testing both crews. USS George launched multiple Hedgehog attacks through an increasingly erratic sub-evasion. Course changes every 3 minutes, depths varying 60 to 300 feet, silent running at minimum propeller speed, and countermeasures including acoustic decoys and compressed airbursts to create false sonar targets. By dawn May 30th, USS George and USS Rabby had largely exhausted ammunition without a kill. RO-105's commander exhibited exceptional skill, manipulating ballast tanks to alter trim angles, precise speed control to reduce propeller noise, and strategic acoustic decoys. Initially, Commander Haynes kept USS England in reserve, preserving its strength as doctrine advised. However, after 24 fruitless hours, he ordered the England to engage. At 7:36, England made its final attack, with Williamson calculating optimal parameters, approximately 200 feet depth, course generally southwest toward Buganville, speed reduced to conserve battery. The attack scored 6 to 10 direct hits at 7:36. Approximately 5 minutes later, a major explosion ensued as RO-105's compressed air systems ruptured. Seawater flooded all compartments simultaneously. Oil and debris shot to the surface, ending the 7th Submarine Squadron. Captain Ryan Succo, one of Imperial Navy's most seasoned sub-commanders, was among the 55 lost. His death symbolized a profound loss of expertise and knowledge built through Pacific combat. 6 submarines destroyed in 12 days. USS England's record unmatched in anti-submarine warfare history. Admiral Ernest King's vow that the U.S. Navy would always have an England was fulfilled in 1960 with the guided missile destroyer USS England, perpetuating the name and legacy. Beyond individual valor, the destruction reshaped Pacific war power balances. Admiral Toyoda's Operation AGO, dependent on sub-reconnaissance, was compromised before battle started. Without submarine intel, Japanese naval intelligence operated blind. American industry had produced over 622,000 depth charges by war's end, an immense investment in conventional weapons. The Hedgehog's superior efficiency suggested future naval construction favoring accuracy over volume. World War II British data showed 1 sub sunk per 60 depth charge attacks. The Hedgehog achieved 1 kill per 6, a 10-fold increase. Combined with sonar and radar advancements, it revolutionized anti-submarine warfare. Psychologically, the impact was brutal. Previously confident Japanese crews now feared near-perfect American weapons. Intercepted morale reports showed reluctance to confront surface forces. Admiral Toyoda swiftly altered Operation AGO to rely on surface and air intelligence, straining scarce resources during the war's final phase. USS England's success underscored signals intelligence importance. Fleet Radio Unit Pacific's decryption of Japanese communications enabled precise targeting. Without knowledge of I-16's mission and squadron positions, vast ocean areas would have been fruitlessly searched. Williamson's mathematical approach transformed submarine hunting from an art to science. calculating depth, course, speed from sonar data, and evasion patterns. Post-war, his methods were adopted fleet-wide, enhancing overall anti-submarine effectiveness. The human toll was sobering. Roughly 400 Japanese submariners perished in 12 days. Losses eroded irreplaceable expertise, since full combat readiness required months of training and years of experience. American forces suffered no casualties, a disparity reflecting superior technology, tactics, training, and leadership. Japanese submarine forces had declined from 63 to under 30 operational units by May 1944. Losing 7 in 12 days was unsustainable. Shipyards built one sub monthly, while effective U.S. kill rates far exceeded replacement. The mathematical outcome was inevitable. Japanese submarines to be attrited before degrading U.S. naval power. Technology widened the gap. U.S. radars detected surfaced subs over 15 miles away. Japanese subs need to surface expose them to detection and attack. Sonar improvements erased previous sub-advantages. Early war AIC systems lost contact during attack runs. USS England's QC sonar maintained constant tracking, feeding weapons data continuously. Hedgehog's contact fuse, honed over 3 years, minimized acoustic noise pollution traditional depth charges created, enabling immediate successive attacks. American industrial output exceeded 600,000 depth charges and thousands of Hedgehog projectiles, reflecting strategic focus on anti-submarine warfare. Extensive training produced thousands of sonar, depth charge, and ASW specialists. U.S. naval schools' output outpaced Japanese capability, compounding tactical advantage. Atlantic convoy experience transferred rapidly to the Pacific, multiplying knowledge. USS England's success was a confluence of signals intelligence, advanced radar and sonar, superior weapons, mathematical fire control, and highly trained personnel backed by industry. Japanese submarines faced insurmountable odds as American superiority grew. By June 1944, Japanese subs in the Central Pacific were reduced to desperate supplies and token patrols. Early effective submarine warfare potential vanished due to attrition and obsolescence. USS England continued service but never matched that May 1944 12-day success concentration, becoming a symbol for anti-submarine mastery, highlighting warfare's shift from stealth to technology and training dominance. The legacy influenced decades of naval doctrine. Major navies studied England's methods, adopting similar technologies. The age of the invisible predator submarine ended, replaced by increasingly sophisticated underwater detection and destruction. Admiral Toyoda's Operation AGO proceeded without sub-reconnaissance, contributing to the decisive Japanese defeat at the Battle of the Philippine Sea in June 1944. Freed from submarine threats, American carrier forces operated with unprecedented freedom in the Central Pacific. Executive Officer Williamson's mathematical attack methodology marked a turning point, where scientific calculation supplanted intuition and experience as key to battle success. USS England's sixth submarine sinking demonstrated modern warfare's dependence on advanced technology, training, and industrial capacity. Beneath the Pacific Ocean rest 7 Japanese submarines, their crews honored by all for bravery against overwhelming odds. Their sacrifice marked the end of an era when skill and determination could trump technological inferiority. The future belonged to nations able to produce weapons like the Hedgehog and train operators as aboard USS England.